And yes, to your question, we are doing it. Welcome to the Good Listening To show here on UK Health Radio. I'm Chris Grimes. This is, you'll hear in a moment, the lovely Hannah Fitt. Woohoo!
Woo, hello.
So welcome, Hannah. I'll just blow some smoke at you as to explain what our connection is and why I've invited you to the Good Listening To show, Clearing. So this is the show that brings you the clearing, where all good questions come to be asked, I think you'll find, and all good stories come to be told. Think desert island discs, but in a clearing. And my job is to bathe this lovely person, Hannah Fitt, in a bit of glorious sunshine as we let her thinking unfold. And we find out, who are you and what's your story? There's also some storytelling metaphors, but if you're getting familiar with the programme, that's a good thing. We're going to shake Hannah's tree to see which storytelling apples fall out. There's an exercise which is very juicy called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're also, thank you very much, going to talk about alchemy and gold, and you're going to be awarded with a cake too, Hannah. So it's all to play for.
Oh, the cake bit's my favourite sounding bit at the moment.
So first of all, just before I blow extra smoke at you as to what I know you do, and you can tell us, but how's morale? What's your story of the day, Hannah Fitt?
Oh, my morale is good. I have long COVID, so I'm managing that, but I like to also push myself. So I've been walking out and about this morning to the beach already, which always is joyful. It's sunny, it's bright. Yeah.
I love that. And not that you had long COVID, I don't love that, but I love the fact you went to the beach because of a lovely adage I love, which is, if in doubt, walk it out, which is really good for resilience, getting in the great outdoors.
Well, the great outdoors is good. The sort of walking bit, my surname Fitt is totally ironic. I'll just let you know. I'm trying to do as little amount of physical activity as I can get away with.
I like the cut of your jib, and I have always liked you, by the way. We've known each other for many years. We've got lots of lovely people in common. So you're Barry born and bred, and I love this. You're fond of alliteration. So hello, Hannah.
Oh no, I'm going to have to think of something clever with alliteration.
No, you've already thought of the clever stuff, because on the S.A.F.E Foundation's website, there's this lovely thing about random facts about you. And we're going to come on to a quirky or unusual fact about you. So you run the S.A.F.E Foundation, or you certainly did until very recently, because you've had a very, very illustrious sort of plucking, if you'll pardon that particular expression, where you're actually doing something else now, but born out of the fact that you have an incredible disposition to be selfless and altruistic in helping others.
Yes. Do you know what? I mean, I always thought that everybody did, and I do see the best in people. I think we've all got that altruism in us, but I think I was lucky enough through choices and nurturing from a wonderful family for that to really be encouraged. And so, yeah, that's sort of the path that we've gone down. I set up the S.A.F.E Foundation, which is an international development charity, with my twin sister. That was back in 2006, but that was off the back of lots of sort of volunteering and, getting involved in community things. And then I never thought I'd be doing anything else, because the S.A.F.E Foundation isn't just a job. It's a real family,
Yes.
It is a heartbeat. It's the center of everything that we sort of do. So I had no intention of walking away from that. And then about a couple of months ago now, actually, something just landed in my lap, which I said no to a lot. And then I thought, you know what, why not? Let's stretch. Time to stretch myself a bit. So I'm now the director of programs and operations for a charity called Keep a Child Alive, which was founded by Alicia Keys over in New York. Yeah.
Wow. And so was it Alicia Keys directly that got in touch with you, or was it the foundation representatives over here?
It was somebody who has worked in the charity sector, now doing some consultancy with the charity, with KCA, who sort of headhunted me. Is that a good?
Yes.
Sounds quite.
Didn't head shrink you, head hunted you. I love that.
I like my head. I don't want it to be hunted.
And by the way, we're filming this as well, so you can also listen to what I'm discussing with Hannah here on the Good Listening To show as well. And by the way, I can't help but hear you talked about the wonderful dynamic duo that was your twin sister, Lucy, in the mix of all of this. And that's part of your extraordinarily profound journey. And when I first met you, I knew that was a sort of potential shadow in your life and that was around about the first time I met you. So do you want to just quickly tell the story about Lucy?
Yes, I mean it is a long story, and I think, in terms of you're sort of one of the apples. I know you're going to ask a bit about what shaped you, but I can't really define or express in words entirely what it means to be a twin. I mean, it's a unique relationship. It's a really intricate and sometimes confusing relationship, but always the most powerful one that I know I'll ever experience. So, that's kind of, there's a lot in there, but we worked together, we expressed our creativity together with music, and yeah, we set up and ran the S.A.F.E Foundation together. And the sort of plan was, I always sort of say that she was the brains and I was the brawn, because she's very clever and very great with international development and sort of the technical elements of what we do, and I would just sort of be the prop, really just getting us out there and doing it. So we sort of made a great team. But sadly, she was killed in Zambia back in 2012 while she was working on a project, and I was in India at the same time. And so, I mean, yeah, it was devastating. And also, I mean, there's deep grief associated with that loss anyway. But I think in every area of my life, not least my identity as well, who am I without my twin?
Yes.
A question that still looms, I guess, to a certain extent. But, part of the journey to where I am now was asking myself that question, because it's such a, it's the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of
Yes.
earthly life. That's how it was. So there was sort of a lot of issues there to unpack.
And by the way, there is some Shakespeare coming later on as well. And of course, that makes me think of the twins Dromio from Comedy of Errors, and I to the world and like a drop of water. And so where do you go without your twin, and seeking your twin? And of course, your twin, if I may, has always struck me as being a bit like a demon or a daemon to you, in that she's watching you. She's got your back. Lucy's always there.
I've got her back. She was never very reliable. I wouldn't trust her having my back.
So we're going to keep our powder dry, because I fully appreciated you may well obviously mention in what has shaped you. So in the clearing of the S.A.F.E Foundation, which is where I first met you, I know now that you're going on to keeping a child alive as well, which isn't at all throwing any bathwater out, because I know you're going to stay very, very close to the S.A.F E Foundation. But what brought you to the S.A.F E Foundation clearing in the first place? Before I ask you what a clearing's metaphorically like for you.
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I think the family really, like I said, that altruism has been nurtured, and I think it's just an extension of that, the S.A.F E Foundation. So for me, it is a safe place. That name, S.A.F E. I mean, it is a silly acronym, really. Support, aid, fun, education. That's what it stands for, literally. But, it embodies safety for a lot of people. For the vulnerable people we support, they come to S.A.F E to feel, empowered and regain some confidence and skills. But for me, it's where I'm in my zone. I feel confident. I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm making a difference in the way that I know how. And I also feel that it's a really inclusive space. So I can encourage my children's, the things that I want my children to feel and to have within the context of what I do. So yeah, it does, it sort of encompasses everything in my life anyway that I want to instill in the people that I love and support.
Wonderful. And the S.A.F E Foundation, I know, is about supporting and developing and educating the poorest people and communities in the world. And I love the fact it's just as bish, bash, bosh and as profound as for a fairer, brighter, more peaceful future for the world. So it had such a beautiful imperative to it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the other thing traditionally with sort of charity land and international development, particularly, the world has been really focused on hard outcomes, which we are. You want to lift people out of poverty, you want to get them skill, have skill build within the communities. But we very much focused on sort of softer things, developing critical thinking, developing resilience and empathy, and those things are not mutually exclusive. And so you can't have one without the other. And so we put just as much importance on developing you and who you are and the things that are important to you. And that has been people are really responding to that now, I think, which is important, and it's really shaping the way. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, thank you for that lovely explanation and introduction by way of then bringing us effortlessly to the storytelling metaphors that we're going to bounce along the way here on the Good Listening To show. So, first of all, Hannah, Fitt, what is a clearing like for you, metaphorically or literally? Where do you go to get clutter-free, inspirational, and able to get some oxygen blowing between your significant amount of brain cells?
Oh man, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, and it's a very conscious thing for me as well. It's not something that I've thought of, but it's the beach. I mean, I live in Barry, which actually you mentioned it. That's actually classified information, but seeing as we've put it out there, I'm Barry. And so I live 5-minute walk from the beach, and I go there every day without fail. And
By the way, we do have some common ground there. My Nana Doris Grimes used to live in Barry Island, and she
yes,
lived until she was 100 years old.
fantastic. Go on, Doris.
Go Doris. And my dad's brother's family still live there.
Yeah,
Hurrah.
hurrah,
Big
it's the
shout
best
out to Alan
thing.
and Lorraine in Barry. Lovely.
It's bad. But I think, it's a very conscious thing for lots of different reasons. It definitely helps me to feel clear. I
Yes.
I mean, I literally breathe to the rhythm of the sea, and it helps me in that sort of meditative way. But also I think, so I also do some life coaching. And one of the things I sort of see a lot in the clients that I work with is that people can manage the areas of their lives quite well, but don't manage the transitions between those areas. So,
Yes.
for example, if you're in work and then you come home and you have to switch to parent mode,
Yes.
the transitions are really, really important. And so I use the beach as my transitional point throughout those moments in my day, to have the conversation with myself about what do I need for the next part of my day, and
And
how
because
can
of your pride in being intrinsically and Welsh in birth background, as you say, Barry born and bred, fond of alliteration, which I also mentioned, you can go to any beachscape of your choice. But it sounds to me like you're being really specific. You're talking about Barry Beach, is that right?
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I am, because I've had an amazing upbringing as well. My parents are fantastic, and the beach was always there. So going through, from babies right up until where I am now, is such a present person in my life, the beach. And so yes, it's packed with memories and fun, and going to have your first cigarette and all of that, but also a night swimming. But now, um, I sort of have made a deeper connection with nature generally, but specifically the
Yes.
creatures around me, because that connectedness I really feel, but also I think it takes you out of yourself as well, so that you can have a little bit more perspective sometimes and manage those moments in your life.
So
And so,
Hannah Fit going to the beach is a bit like a homecoming for you, where you can
oh,
restore.
definitely. Yeah. And then, yeah, and it's fun as well. I don't know whether you've noticed where you are, but like wild swimming has become a really big thing in at the moment through lockdown. And it makes me laugh because wild swimming is a very trendy hipster wave that we just have had all of our lives, just running into the sea when you're a little bit drunk.
And talking of hipsters, I know you've got the coolest dad on the planet, Dicko,
I
and he's a sort of grandfatherly hipster, as you said.
hipster.
He's
He
very
decided at
iconic.
the age of 64 that he wanted to be a DJ when he grew up.
I
So
love it when he growed up. I love that.
So he DJs. Oh my god, I can't even believe I'm saying it, so embarrassing. He does DJ like electro music.
Boop. You've got a very cool mum as well, I have to say. So your fam squad are cool. We also share a son called Stan in common, and I know you've got a daughter too.
Yes.
All good. Now, if I may, I'm going to arrive here in your clearing on Barry Beach with a tree, and I'm going to shake your tree now. And this is the next of the storytelling metaphors, where in your clearing, you've had 5 minutes to have thought about 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to grab your attention. Oh, squirrels, borrowed from the film Up. And then a quirky or unusual fact about you that we couldn't possibly know until you tell us. Um, so over to you to shake. How'd you like them apples? Shake your tree, please.
I'm shaking it, but I have to say, as I'm shaking it, I think you're very mean, like being so. Like, I'm just going to be really broad with my answers now and hope
Please
that they
do.
land with you and that I don't get told off for being so vague.
I'm
um,
looking forward to the shake. So let's do this.
Okay, so what do you want first? 4 things that have shaped me. Okay, well, being a twin, I've mentioned, but I think, so when you're born with somebody, you've got this natural armor, I suppose, against the world, because you've got somebody there with you all the time. And so that solidarity and that confidence is sort of present. And I think also when you're growing up, certainly it's quirky and it's fun and you can have a laugh and you can tease people. And it's interesting because you're sort of tussling for your own identity within that mutual one. But it's only your place to call it. If anyone else messes with that, then
Yes.
they
Don't
can
mess
do
with the
it.
twins. I love that.
Don't
Yes.
mess with the twins or the twinness. There's 3
Yes.
people really. It's you, it's her, and then there's the thing that you create together, and only you can sort of mess around with that, which is, it gives you sort of something special. So that, and I said it when Lucy was here with us, and I'll say it now, that it's the most important relationship that I will ever have in my life, and we were very, very aware of that as well at the time. So that shaped me.
And it's
That's
most poignant and most profound, that part. So thank you for sharing that with us.
yeah. So I think that I couldn't say that has not shaped me. It definitely has. I think the other thing is, do I have to be really specific? Can I say creativity? I'll say creativity.
It's up to you.
I'm from a really creative family. My grandmother was a jazz singer in the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way through. And she had a huge impact actually in my life. But and I went to art college. I specialized in ceramics, and I write now. I still write creatively. And I played music as well. So we were very lucky with Lucy, my twin. We were very lucky to not just have that creativity, but like really drive it as well. So we were in bands and we would perform all over the world, had some great experiences. And then when we were working as well with the S.A.F.E Foundation, we were also using, spotting opportunities where we might use music as well to sort of lift the project or lift the community. So yeah, creativity, but specifically music has shaped me. And when Lucy died, I stopped music pretty much altogether. I couldn't do it. It was too, it's meant to be emotional, but it was too emotional. And I didn't go near it for years. And then about 2 years ago, I was able to listen to our music that we made together, which I feel is a real blessing now, because actually I can hear her voice. Not just that, I can hear our voices together.
The harmony, yes.
I feel very lucky that I still have that.
There's something really profound there about the harmonics of being a twin, and the fact you
Yeah,
can still go to her voice and then get the harmonic chime going for you.
100%. And there's nowhere else I could get that. So I feel very lucky, and I have a piano and have started playing the piano as well now again. So it's coming back into my life. It's different, but music's shaped me. I would say, what's that too? So number 3, I would say volunteering. Like I said, we were encouraged to, and my philosophy, and we have a mantra with the children as well before we go to bed. I say, be kind and be curious. And we were always taught to be kind and be curious. And so that always led us to helping people or being interested in how we could help people.
I love that. You're playing it forward perpetually. It sounds like your mum and dad said that to you, and you're now doing it at bedtime too.
Yeah, definitely. And nurture, I mean, they are naturally kind, my kids, but helping them be conscious of that and seeing it as something they can control, I think is important.
By the way, you're a real trailblazer in that regard, because I definitely know that you're kind, you're curious, and you're also incredibly generous. I'm not just being nice to you, but in the times when I've been in touch with you, you've always blown so much warmth and positivity to me and my family's way. So I think you are really successfully playing that forward.
That is good to know, and that's, it's a real philosophy of mine. But those philosophies led us to being active within our community. And then, just volunteering locally took us on to volunteering internationally, took us on to setting up charities. So, without that, we would not I would not be doing what I am doing
Yes.
today. So volunteering, you know, and it's important. It's and I really think if we can, then we should, you know, and it's yeah. And I suppose the other thing that has shaped me is the bookend of the first one, which is losing a twin.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing I wouldn't do to have not lost her, you know, and it's 100% the worst thing that's ever and will ever happen. But, you know, after a long time reflecting and working through that, I'm and accepting that, I'm able to choose what I want from that, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
the loss has shaped me, but now the choice is shaping me through it as well. And I choose to be hopeful, and I choose to be happy, and I choose to be okay. And
Yes.
so that event has shaped me, but also what I've learned from that event continues to shape me too.
And because of who you are, she always stands next to you, metaphorically, literally, symbolically, profoundly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So I think, yeah, there's my shape, there's my shapes.
Good shapage. Good shapage. I like that. And also positive choices. I love the fact that music has come back, and the sound of Lucy has come back, even though you never were deaf to that, obviously, but it was just about the pain in picking it up again, the instrument.
And the thing is with music as well is I was never confident with it because Lucy was an incredible musician. And so I was always happy to defer to that and just be enough, you know. And I was terrified of my creativity on my own. I didn't feel like I had enough or that I was good enough. And actually, right now, here in this moment, I haven't felt more creative in a really, really long time. And so I'm so enjoying my creative writing. I'm writing a film and I'm, you know, writing songs. And so it's given me a sense, I've got a sense of confidence back with it as well.
Gosh, that's a world exclusive. Is your film related to something biographical, or is it just you're off
Yeah.
on the... Yes,
No,
okay.
I had to write this. So I've written before. I've written a book before. I've written a screenplay before. I've written short stories before. But again, same with music. You know, that loss and that trauma just shut it all down.
Yeah.
And I've tried to write since, and I've done a couple of projects since. But I realised that until I've written this in my way, I can't really move on. And
Ah,
so I sort of took the bull by the horns and I started to write my experiences. It's not just about losing Lucy, it's about lots of stuff before that. And it's about mental health as well. Um, yeah, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it with an amazing co-writer called Magdalene Bird. So yeah, I feel and it was catharsis. It is catharsis, but
yeah.
it also just feels great to be creative.
And it makes complete sense that you've got another partner in that because of the twinning. It's that 1+1 = 3, and
Do
it
you
brings
know
you
what?
to a space of I am enough.
And I said to her that very thing this morning. I said, I've never collaborated creatively with anybody apart from Lucy. And all of a sudden I'm working with this co-writer who I found by accident. Um, and it's just so lovely. It's just so nice. And it's
By the way, that's very interesting. Found by accident. There's a lovely adage: "What's meant for you won't pass you by." So, hey,
um, yeah, I'm in with that one for sure. So yeah, it's great. I'm feeling, you know, the creativity game is strong at the moment.
I'm loving a little pause here. And now we
Oh,
talk about 3 things that have that inspire you, please, Hannah
it's
Fitt.
the worst one for me because I could look at a brick wall and be inspired. I mean, I find inspiration in everything. I'm like, ta-da! You know, really. So, you know, how am I going to do this? Okay, so this is so broad. I'm almost embarrassed.
By the way, I
But
love brick wall. That no one's ever said that before. I love that. So anyway, that's not...
you know what? I'll tell you something funny. It's my nan used to have that wallpaper, you know, that's slightly raised. What's it called?
Oh, not not. I'm going to say vortex. That's the wrong word, but it's got a text in there. Artex.
Artex, and I used to look at it for
Okay,
ages. And
vortex is something different.
I used to look at her Artex wallpaper and see faces and like shapes and then draw them and stuff. So I'm kind of not joking about the brick wall.
I'm thinking brass rubbings now for some reason. Just anything to just put a bit of paper on and start rubbing at that, and then something comes up. It's a face. I love that.
No, okay. So my three things that inspire me. So I'm going to say people. you know, I'm inspired by, you know, my sister, my older sister, who we both know, who sort of inspired me to be the mum that I want to be. I feel like I've learned from the best there, and also my parents and my children. But also, you know, I get very uncomfortable with this, but people do say to me, "Oh, I find you really inspiring," or whatever. And I always like clench my fists at that. But then when I take my head out of my own arse, I think, you know what, but I'm actually really inspired by people too, so they're allowed. And I see, you know, the work that I do when I go and see people who are working, living in, you know, some very challenging, very difficult situations. Um, it's really, it's heartbreaking, but it's also incredibly inspiring, because despite all of this adversity and all of this hardship, there's always resilience, and there's always hope, and there's always, you know, and that's what inspires me, is that people who live in difficult situations always choose hope, or
Yes.
choose,
And
you
I
know,
like, I've heard it couched as being, even in the darkness, there'll be a golden thread somewhere in the darkness that will pull you towards your future. The idea of
you know,
raised hope, a golden thread.
and that is so exposed when you see people with nothing, you
Yes.
know. And so that inspires me, and I hear stories, really horrible stories sometimes, but then they're always sort of juxtaposed with stories of hope as well. And
Yes.
so I find that amazing, and we get lots of young people through, um, you know, the S.A.F.E Foundation stores in the UK and Wales, who are going through some awful things, but once you find that common ground, or the thing that you can share together, and you see something shift, and the belief they start to have in themselves, I find that so inspiring.
And I love
So
the fact that obviously SAFE, as we've discussed, the acronym, the word, it gives people a sort of sanctuary. So
yeah,
people can gradiate towards the SAFE Foundation, and it's a place of safety.
it's a place of safety, and everything, you know, all the world that I operate in, charity land world, you see people who are, um you know, I said earlier, if you can, then you should. Well, you see those people who've made that decision, and you see the doers and the activists and the, you know, the humanitarians and
Yes.
philanthropists. And so I find those people inspiring.
Yes. It's very profound when you just notice someone has nailed that idea of the action towards, rather than just sitting there and being a victim. What can I do to change? What action
Totally.
towards?
Yeah, and the theorists as well. We all need to work together. You know, that's the reality. But for me, the doers are the inspirers for me. Yeah.
Lovely.
uh, Something else that inspires me is, I suppose, this that moves on really forward. Travel and culture. You know, taking myself out of my world and seeing things from a different angle or a different perspective. And I've been very fortunate to travel with my work, but also, you know, it's something that interests me anyway. And I love seeing how communities operate differently. And what I love similarly, I think, is when you see the common thread throughout cultures, you know,
Yes.
that
It is.
humanity that exists in us all,
I
you
was
know.
going to exactly say that. It is humanity that binds us all.
Yeah, and I love it so much. I love it particularly, as a woman, and when you travel and you get to sit in a different culture with women, and you see how you feel the softness and the nurture, and how, you know, women function in communities. And I love it so much. I love sitting in Sierra Leone having my hair done with another woman, because it's where you get to share and, you know, just hold each other's space. It's wonderful. It's really amazing.
Yes.
So, and that's, you know, it's uplifting, and it's quite overwhelming sometimes, you
Yes.
know, to understand what that space actually is.
And the cultural womanhood, it is womanhood that binds us all in what you're describing there.
Wonderful, womanly. Oh, it's quite witchy. Oh, I was going to say witchy. It's quite
No,
witchy.
good. You love alliteration. We've covered that. That's all good.
We're just ramming home. Okay. And my third inspiration, I don't know. Do you know what? I I find, I was going to say art inspiring. My original like dream was to be an artist. and I went to art college and I had a great time. I had my heart set on doing fine arts.
And you mentioned ceramics. So was that the sort of...
Well, I frankly wasn't good enough to do fine art. So I ended up specializing in ceramics, and it was great because you could get all messy and dirty and, chuck big lumps of clay around.
And I'm sure you'd have a lovely conversation with Grayson Perry, by the way. I'm sure you would.
Yes, I love Grayson Perry. But yeah, so I didn't do fine art, but, but I just love art, but artists, and particularly artists, because how I know lots paves the way for the future, but I think culturally artists and their the way they take risks, and the way that you can forge new ideas so physically. I love that. And I love looking back at art history and looking at people like, the pre-Raphaelites who look so boring now, but actually they were just so brilliant in their bohemian
Yes.
attitudes towards life. And I just love the way that those attitudes can sort of forge a couple of generations ahead, change the way we look at things and view things. So
out of adversity always comes such creativity as well. You talked
yeah,
about poverty, but of course the pandemic's had its own adversity. And even this podcast, if I may, or this series has come about because of adversity. I wouldn't have
yeah,
even had this idea, which is really pulling me towards my future now, if it wasn't for the fact that I'd been in adversity. There's
yeah,
something about when you look back on adversity, then you can see the grace. But only
yeah.
when you look back can you see the grace.
Absolutely, definitely. And you can get caught up, can't you? I mean, I know we've had really similar experiences, but you can get caught up, can't you, in the actual things that happen. And then, but when you take a step back and be kind to yourself, you can see where that fits in, and
Yes.
and how you can shape those things to move on.
And then how profoundly resilient you've actually been, because, hey, look at me and others out there, how we've all adapted. I don't mean look at me. I mean, we can all of us look within and think, I've managed to fall upwards rather than fall down.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah. And I think sometimes that's really hindered, isn't it, by the fact that we live in a really comparative and competitive society. And so we
Yeah.
kind of bargain off our own reconciliation against other people's, and that can
Yes.
be really detrimental. But actually, you're totally right. If you just focus on within and trust yourself, and trust the mechanisms that you've got within yourself to come through that,
Yes.
it's incredibly powerful when you do come through it, if you do, but you know what I mean, like
Yes.
when
And
you
in the
get to
darkness,
a point.
it's looking for the golden thread again, just to sort of put the cherry on that particular
Yeah,
cake.
yeah, exactly. So there we go, broad inspirations: people, travel, art.
Liking those. And now two things, and don't worry at all if there's any overlap, but two things that never fail to hoot squirrels get your attention, please. That is borrowed from the film Up, by the way, if anyone's thinking, what is
Oh
he
my
talking about
god, that's
squirrels
so
for?
funny. Okay, well, I have to say, and this is very irritating, but I am the grammar police. I'm awful. I hate it. Well, I don't hate it. It's really satisfying when I see a mistake, but I don't know where that's come from, because, I guess art and writing, but
And precision, we like that.
I just can't help noticing it.
Yeah, be
Um,
accurate. It's good.
I had this, so my new role within Keep a Child Alive as well. I was told that I had an eye for detail, which is hilarious because I'm like, really, do I? But actually I have, and it's really annoying.
No, I commend you for that. I'm right there thinking it's good that someone's going to get it right.
Come on. So that's one. What else do I notice? I think okay, so we're a little bit a little bit deeper, I suppose, but like I said, I'm a life coach, and so I naturally have quite good critical thinking and good, emotional tools. I always thought that was just everybody, but a few years ago, I was approached by somebody to bring on board their life coaching business. So I had some mentoring and training, and I realized that not everybody does think like that. So I've become way more sort of conscious about what my actual practical things are that I do.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you'll know, but things like how you talk to yourself and like the transitions we mentioned earlier and things like that. And
Reframing stuff and all that shebang as well.
yeah, all of that. So I do practice what I preach, and I do notice these things. So I'm very good at also calling myself out when I'm not being very kind to myself. And so, yeah, I mean, I do notice that. I've become more comfortable with noticing that as well, because there's sometimes, for me, especially in charity land world, there's quite a fine line between altruism and egoism. And
Yes.
they can get blurred quite easily. But so sometimes I'm thinking, don't think too much about yourself, you're being a knob. But actually, the balance right between not being a knob and being kind to myself.
I love that as a mantra. Don't be a knob.
Don't be a knob. That's what I should give the kids, isn't it? Be kind, be curious, and don't be a knob.
Great mantra right there. It's my job to make sure we get a bit of a lick on as well, because I know that there's a wonderful discipline in being very time bound. This is a lovely conversation, but now one quirky or unusual fact about you that we couldn't possibly know until you tell us, and you're not allowed to tell us that you sung Incy Wincy Spider on a multilingual children's nursery CD, please.
Oh yes, true. There's so many, but there's actually not so many. I super wear my heart on my sleeve, so almost everyone knows almost everything about me.
I love that. So what is it going to be, please?
Am I just allowed to say that I have some intimate body piercings and leave it at that?
Let's just pause for a minute, and we'll leave it there.
There we go.
Intimate body piercings, love that.
I can't think of anything else.
Cracking. And now we move away from your tree, but we stay in the clearing. And then this is really juicy. We're going to talk about alchemy and gold now. And I also like to call it diamonds beneath our feet. I promise listeners, I will explain that story, because I've talked about it a lot so far in the episodes I've been doing, but I will talk about this wonderful story later about diamonds beneath our feet. So alchemy and gold is when you, Hannah Fitt, are at purpose and in flow. What is the alchemy and the gold that you are here to reveal?
I am here to reveal that we should all trust ourselves and that we all have that choice. That's fundamentally it. And to take those things seriously. We can be so flippant, like I said, with these softer things. For whatever reason, we've become so sort of driven by practical success or measures that how we achieve that. And we've forgotten how to measure our kindness and the trust that we should have in ourselves. So that's what I feel like I'm here to promote, is that we are good enough, and we can, if we feel it in our hearts, then we should listen to that, and we should trust those choices that we make.
And by the way, I love the reincorporation that you keep chiming in a really beautiful way, which is about the choices that we make. And it's the proactive choices that we make that can rescue us from all sorts of adversity.
Yes, and I'm not religious. I'm actually a passionate atheist. I very rarely say that I feel lucky, or things sort of accidentally come along. We are allowed to have power over those things. And we're allowed to recognize when we have power over these things as well. And so, if I can help people, show people that powerful choice that they have made.
Yes. And again, there's that lovely proactivity in that, because one of my favorite words about how we influence the world around us is reciprocity. What you give out, you will get back. So it is the energetic disposition, I think, and therefore it's no surprise to me that, of course, the next thing that's going to pull you towards your future is to go towards keep a child alive and keep within safe as well.
You know what? I know this is a little bit, but you just said it, that sort of, that law of attraction. The morning that I got the phone call about keep a child alive, and it was the same day that I met my writing partner. It was the same day that I went to the beach and I asked for it to happen. I asked for it. And when it came along, I did float in and out of the decision, because that's still part of my thing. But then I thought, I've asked for this and it's happened. So why?
And just be specific. That's lovely, by the way. What's the specific this you asked for? Sounds like two things.
I went and I asked to find my writing partner. I went and I asked for that. I said, today is the day I'm going to find my writing partner, at my beach. And then I didn't ask for S.A.F.E, but I knew, how can I make an impact? How can I make more of an impact? What am I doing? Where can I make more of an impact?
Again, I just want to let that hang there beautifully. And now we're going to award you with a cake, Hannah Fitt, and you're going to get to put a cherry on the cake for the final metaphor. This is deliberately multi-textured because it's open to interpretation. I want to get all existential on you as well, inspired by a bit of Shakespeare. So one of the things I'd like you to talk about, inspired by Shakespeare's "All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players." I'd like to invite you. So how would you most like to be remembered? What would you like your legacy to be? And if you can get there, sorry, it is deliberately so. A favorite inspirational quote before you get to the how you might like to remember. A favorite inspirational quote, or what advice you might give to your younger self. So it's all open to interpretation for you to leave us with a legacy in this conversation.
Okay, so how would I like to be remembered? Oh God, that is deep, isn't it? I don't know. I can't tell you how strongly I feel about kindness. It sounds like such a wishy-washy thing to say, doesn't it? But it's such a value, and it's such a thing that I consciously do and consciously use. And if people could just, I hope people see the authenticity in that, authentically kind, maybe. That would be a nice thing.
And just to reflect something back to you, it's about leaving the world a kinder place for the space that you leave behind, is what I've just heard you talking about there.
I mean, completely. Can you imagine if that happened? Wow, that would just
And
be,
by the way, I can imagine that is going to happen.
yeah. But
I
we can
don't mean to be morbid, none of us are getting out of here alive. We all know that. But I think you're already on the real trailblazing path,
yeah.
and it's good to think about this stuff. You will have it, hear it from me, super objectively, not just being nice to you, but you will leave behind you the world a kinder space.
So I think as well, if we can practice gratitude, if I practice gratitude on the regular, and I know how transformative it is. It's one thing to be grateful, but it's something else to practice gratitude, and to do it consciously. And I suppose I've always done it, but if I could go back and tell my younger self that it's a thing and that we can practice it, and you can just, make that punch a little bit harder, I would have started doing it earlier. So that's something I perhaps would have talked to my younger self about. When you say a quote, I can't think of a quote, because something funny that popped into my head is that, talking about instilling those things in my children: be kind, be curious, and also to believe that they can be anything they want. And for that, I kind of played that badly as a parent, because now my daughter thinks she's actually growing wings and that her shoulder blades are wing buds. And I
Oh,
haven't got the heart to tell her that she now thinks she can fly. I was talking metaphorically. Of course, she's 7, so she thinks literally when she's 18, her wings are going to sprout and she's going to be able to fly.
I love that.
So I need to kind of
The
also,
wonderment of childhood. Long may that continue. There's such beautiful. It's like the tooth fairy and all the other stuff like that. It's
exactly, isn't
great.
it?
I'm going to grow angel wings.
It's
I
just
love
a
that.
little bit awkward when she asks me to check how her wing buds are coming along.
Hashtag awkward. All good. And if I may, could I ask your permission to ask you quite a cheeky but quite deep question?
Oh God, go.
As I've got you in this space, if you could say anything to Lucy, what would you say?
I don't think I'd say, oh no, I think I would just ask if I'm doing okay. That's it.
Hannah Fitt, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence here in the Good Listening To show Clearing. Is there anything else you'd like to say whilst we've got your moment in the sunshine and you are here, you wonderful thing?
Well, in the spirit of gratitude, thank you. I love these moments. You say thank you for saying yes, but I was never going to say anything else. And it's just lovely to sit with somebody that I'm comfortable with, explore these things which just come out of nowhere. And so what I want to say is thank you.
You're welcome. And where can we find out more about you, either in your new work with Keep a Child Alive or the S.A.F.E Foundation? Just go hard on the URLs, madam.
Well, the safefoundation.co.uk is our website, but you can also follow the S.A.F.E Foundation on Facebook, or safe_foundation on Instagram and Twitter. We also have an ethical boutique where we sell amazing things, and we do also do some great workshops. So you can find the links for the ethical boutique through the S.A.F Foundation handles that I've just given you. You can find Keep a Child Alive at keepachildalive.org, which is our website. Same for the Insta handles, keep a child alive. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you my personal ones because it's just boring spam of my children on there.
Good luck with all of your new creative endeavors, your film, your music. I love the fact you've got back to your music. You are indeed an awesome presence. So you've been listening to Hannah Fitt here on the Good Listening To show with me, Chris Grimes. I'm just going to say and good night to you, and then I'll just do a quick outro for the listeners about what's coming up next. Thank you
Cool.
very much indeed. Anything else you'd like to say?
Love you.
And right back at you, and good night.